salsa.
So welcome everybody. Welcome to the Volunteer Appreciation Night. Thank you for everybody taking some time out of your day and joining us here today. I'm Mayor Tom Fisher, for if there's some of you that don't know. I'm gonna say a few introductory comments. We're gonna invite Chris Heineman up to do a pseudo State of the City. It's not gonna be a State of the City. It's just some highlights from this year and looking into the future. And then I get to close. I get to open and close comments. So I'm excited to do that. Again, thanks everybody, Planning Commission members, Parks and Rec Commission members, city staff, a lot of city staff members here. Thank you for that. Our extended staff members from some of our contract operations that help us do great work. Thank you for you guys being here. Community organizations, LCRA, Canadian Days, others who've just been so great for us through all the years. A special thank you to the Porter House and food donation for their food donation, and also to local restaurants for kind of providing a taste of Little Canada for you guys tonight. All right, some introductions. I introduced myself. I will introduce the council members. I'm citing everybody. Our most senior council member is Teresa Miller. Up in this corner, we have Amanda Gutierrez. I haven't found Dave Miller yet. There's Dave Miller. And up here next to me, Chris Quapic. We do not have, a ton of experience working together. It's been about a year for most of us, and it's been an amazing experience. While we all have our different priorities and our own ideas, the beautiful thing is everybody listens. We listen to one another, we work together, we try to do the right thing for everybody, including you people and everybody you represent. So I'm very proud to be up here representing this group as we've matured, and now I think we've kind of hit stride. So thank you to them. Again, I will now do a thank you to a couple of commission members. Bill Busey. Bill, you want to step up? Bill is a retiring member of the Planning Commission. He hit his 9-year term limit. So, thank you, Bill.
He finally got rid of me.
And also retiring from the Parks and Rec Commission is Anna Abruzzi. Anna couldn't be with us today, but we'll make sure she gets her lovely gift bag as well. One of the things that is pretty impressive about this city is the amount of dedicated employees we have. And just to give you a little sample, we have 6 employees with over 20 years of experience in the city, cumulative 171 years of experience. And I'll name Lisa Krieger with 21 years, Steve Westerhouse with 21, Derek Anderson with 25, Bill Dirks, says William, Bill Dirks with 23, Scott Heaton with 37, and Joe Steele, 44 years. So with that, I will turn this over to Chris Heineman to give you a little bit of a look back at the last year or so of some of the key events that have gone on and a snapshot at what might happen in the future. and then I will come up here and say a few parting words. Chris?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, as I tiptoe over the cords. And let's see if the arrow down works. Okay. So I have just a brief presentation to go through tonight. The various sections are outlined right here, but first I just wanted to look at some accomplishments that the city has gone through in 2023. And if you can read it from the back, there's another screen behind you, and you won't have to look at me if you're actually looking at that screen. But I won't go through all of these items, but each department kind of had its own success stories here. And so if you look at under administration, we had 53 licenses issued, number of data requests. We had one of the highlights there, 48,565 reach through social media output. And that's largely due to one of our new employees this year that has kind of rejuvenated our entire effort in communication and community engagement. In the Community Development Department, 1,165 permits were issued, a number of violations, a dozen Planning Commission cases were handled, 983 inspections, 41 fire inspections by our fire inspector. In Parks and Recreation, had over 1,800 event attendees with our both adult and youth programming. 409 program registrations, 428 facility rentals, and a number of donations. Actually, EAB, Emerald Ash Borer, over 50 trees were removed on public property this year, and that's going to be an ongoing effort throughout the community for, I think, a number of years to come. And then in Public Works, 180 tons of asphalt used for patching, 637 water and sewer work orders were completed, 126 street work orders, and then a number of 420 storm sewer inspections. So just a few little examples of daily and weekly projects. One of the other projects that we actually accomplished last year was a renovation of City Hall. This image here on the left is actually from the inside of the front office before we took occupancy again, but it was about a $400,000 project that included complete renovation of the front office area, but also created 2 separate new offices and 2 additional workspaces in the front office. So we've got some more capacity for staff, partly to be able to hire an additional full-time employee last year. We also moved our copier out of the front office. We used to have a large copy center basically right in the middle of the front office, which was for the old days when we used to make packets by setting up a line of 100 and some different items and going through the collation process, and that was no longer needed. So that was a pretty significant project just for the efficiency of City Hall. Actually, you can just barely see it, but if you haven't been to City Hall to see this, take a look, because the old council chambers ceiling was now uncovered. We actually have more of a open office environment, so the old council chambers was in this section of City Hall, and we kind of uncovered the wood ceilings there, and it's just a nice warm space compared to what it used to look like. This was another amazing project for us last year. As many of you were probably at that grand opening, but it was about a 2-year process in the planning, and took a lot of community effort, a lot of financing. We actually had $700,000 in donations, both from the LCRA and then additional grants. And this is phase 1 of Pioneer Park redevelopment process or improvement process. We're hoping that a phase 2 is going to be coming shortly, and I'll get to that in just a second. A couple of development projects, as you might have seen if you've been at all north of 694 in Little Canada, where there's 2 multifamily development projects. One is under occupancy. It's actually 80% occupied currently, the Litmore, and the other one is under construction currently, anticipated for occupancy in the early fall of 2024. So those are 60-unit projects, and I'll have a few more details on those projects coming up in another slide here as well. And that's just I think the tip of the iceberg. We've got a couple other exciting projects that are coming forward in future years. This is another pretty significant development project that is currently underway. If you've driven on Vanderby North, you've seen both a street network that's been put in, but also I think we're on our 4th separate townhome building that's under construction right now, and we should have one of them actually nearing occupancy within the next 2 to 3 months here. And the final phase, phase 3, was just approved by the City Council in January. This will ultimately be, I guess, Corinne, is it 178 units? 178 units of townhomes, filling in a former farm area there. So it's one of those rare opportunities in a first-ring suburb for new development that we started planning probably 3 years ago and is now being fully realized in 2023 and 2024. Next, this was another subdivision that's, we have 7 homes occupied, 12 constructed out of a total proposed 15-unit subdivision right here on West Wind Court, just off of Labor, and just sort of a compact development. This one home showed here was one of the first homes built, and it was in the Parade of Homes, and most of these homes are actually in the right around $1 million category, and some of them are a little bit more than that. They've got some beautiful backyard views. And there's another subdivision coming up that I'm not highlighting here in the pictures, but we're anticipating that to break ground in early 2024, and that's a 7-unit subdivision right off of Edgerton. And here, actually back north of 694 again, one of the other projects, significant projects in 2023, was the Twin Lake Boulevard reconstruction. And this is a great image. One of the highlights is the trail, obviously, which we're kind of focusing on in this image here, a full 8-foot, or is it 10-foot? 8-foot bituminous trail going all the way along that roadway, both in Vadnais Heights and in Little Canada. Funding for that actually came through a community development block grant funding, $506,000 from federal funding that was passed on through Ramsey County for that project. And but one of the other things that wasn't a part of Twin Lake Boulevard in the past, and I'm sure our city engineer could go on and on about this, but the actual valley gutter there, that the gutter system, it was a previous rural section, and as many of you might remember, a pretty rough rural section of road in our city. So this is a big long-term improvement that we had to partner with Vadnais Heights on, and really made a significant improvement to the north end of Little Canada. Big project from an administration standpoint. We had a number of new hires in 2023. 3 in Public Works, Ryan Anderson, Jimmy Mayer, and Chris Utek. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Laura Linehan, our new Community Relations Manager, started in July of this year. And unfortunately need to mention that we've got another position that's just going to be opening in a couple weeks here, probably on February 15th, for our Parks and Recreation Director. Bryce Sheeran, who I was hoping would be here tonight, unfortunately couldn't, but he served us for many years, 17 years, I believe, rose up through the organization and basically took his experience and he's actually working for private sector with Bolton and Menk, and working with cities and other contacts both throughout Minnesota and even regionally through Bolton and Menk. So great opportunity for him, but we will have another opportunity for hiring within the next couple weeks here. And a few upcoming events just to note here. I hesitated to have snowshoe whatsoever on here, but the reason it stayed on here is that it will be happening regardless. It will just be sans snowshoes if there is no snow on February 14th. Because the illumination, so it'll be a 5 to 8 p.m. illuminated hike, I guess is the plan, right? That is the plan. So in Spooner, just in Spooner, okay, sorry. And so there's more information on the website, and definitely a nice event for Valentine's Day. Arbor Day celebration, as usual, is May 1st. We have our 5th rendition of the SAP Run. I think it's the 5th. We had to skip a year.
I think it's
4th? Okay, 2019, skip a year, and then so it would be our 4th event. But that's registration is currently open, and coming up this Saturday is the Little Canada Fire Department Booyah. A few items here are strategic plan. So strategic planning was a fairly new process to the City of Little Canada. We started in earnest on that in 2019. We did a review and revision of our strategic plan in 2022. And at this point, we're at about 77.5 of the action items have measurable completion. We are en route to get to a high level of completion by the end of 2024 because we're actually planning and already beginning stages of planning for our next round of strategic planning in early 2025. And that's something that is, this year particularly, will be deeper than, we used some board and commission members and city council and staff members in the previous processes. We're definitely going through some engagement with the community and doing a number of surveys through this process to engage and get more information and more details from community members as we begin that process in 2025. And then here's one thing that I'm particularly excited about. We've actually increased a lot of these projects that I've talked about wouldn't have been possible without some of the outside funding sources that we've had. And over the years, so we started in 2020 with just a couple of grants. One of them was, if any of you remember, we had some pretty significant flooding in 2019 in Twin Lake. And so we did some municipal pumping of an actual lake and a number of efforts there. We did get some grant funds from FEMA, so there's $64,000 in 2020. We also got a pass-through grant from the county for $360,000, and then a sidewalk. The Allen Avenue sidewalk project was in 2020. So that totaled about $600,000 in 2020, which we thought was a great start and a great opportunity. But as you can see, if these numbers are visible from where you're sitting, 2022 we have $4.4 million in funding. 2023, $2.1 million in funding. 2024, another $600,000 so far in funding, and then we already have secured in 2026 a $2 million state grant for an upcoming roundabout at Little Canada Road, County Road C, and Lakeshore Drive. And so we're trying to leverage a lot of the other outside funding sources. I can go through just a few of the ones that we've that make up that total. As you can see, $9.83 million in the last 5 years in outside funding that's helped to move these projects along. Some of the larger ones, as we mentioned on that Pioneer Park, we had a $300,000 grant from Minnesota DNR. I mentioned the $506,000 for Twin Lake Boulevard, the trail along Twin Lake Boulevard. We had a lot of these larger ones actually are related to the multifamily housing projects, both the Twin Lake Boulevard projects and then the upcoming projects, which I'll touch on in just a second here. We've got one on Rice Street at Demont and one on County Road B. And so those have also generated quite a bit of funding. But this is probably the one that maybe will generate the most interest. Applause, perhaps? Sorry, this was a long-standing priority of the council. Very difficult to get movement on because of ownership issues and really not an initiative of the council. We couldn't actually do the demolition ourselves, but boy, did we try to facilitate it. So in this case, we have a vacant lot at South Owasso and Rice Street. It does still have that sign or the sign post, but that could be removed in the near future as well, because right now our community development director is working on a proposal for a standalone commercial building on that site. So we could see development even in 2024 on that site. And then here's another exciting look to the future. Two different actions of the City Council just in the last 30 days here. The city just approved at the last City Council meeting a purchase agreement for a remaining parcel that was just north of our public works shop. It kind of sits where that green overlay is. And that parcel it will be very instrumental for any future planning for Pioneer Park, particularly the phase 2 of Pioneer Park planning. And one possibility that's shown there is just some concept planning that the city went through last summer to kind of move that process along. So purchase agreement was approved at the second meeting in January. We have a potential closing on February 20th or 21st. And we will begin that planning process coming forward in the next 6 months or so. Secondly, on the other side of the freeway, the red parcels there outlined were parcels that the city's owned for quite some time and has assembled over quite some time. They were single-family homes right along Country Drive, just north of the Waterworks Trail. They were seen as critical acquisitions for future planning at the time, but the large parcel was also just approved for a purchase agreement at the first meeting in January. And so all told, all assembled, that's about a 4.7 acre parcel, and has a lot of future potential, whether it's commercial, whether it's multifamily, whether it's even potentially a hotel project has not been determined, but it's an opportunity for future development in a key corridor right along the freeway there. So that's another exciting movement forward for the city. And then the other projects that I mentioned that we're currently working on, they've gone through the zoning process and the entitlement process. Rice and Demont, we have a proposed 160-unit multifamily project. They're currently going through application process, or they're waiting for the next round of application for LIHTC, Low-Income Housing Tax Credit funding through Minnesota Housing. That's essential for this project to move forward, but they are first on the priority list. So the next round of funding is July, and they fully anticipate being funded, and so we could see this project moving forward in late 2024. Similarly, this site, if you can make it out there, that's Highway 36 on the top of the slide there, and the BNSF or Canadian CP Rail line on just at the very corner right there. This is just a little wedge of a site that no one thought was developable, or not very seriously for many years, but it's right kind of tucked off of County Road B going northward towards Highway 36. And it's a proposed 106-unit senior housing project. And so that one is also, if funding is received, that's the same source of funding that they're seeking, the LIHTC tax credits. That project would be anticipated to break ground in 2025. So that's the end of my presentation. I'm very excited about some of the upcoming projects, and I'll hand it over to Mayor Fisher for final comments.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. And so when the invitations for this event went out, I got a couple of emails and a couple of phone calls, and the first question was, what is this? and the way I explained it was, the way Chris kind of explained it to me is, we used to have something called a holiday party. And apparently government agencies and things like that and holiday parties don't blend very well. So the staff, not me, the staff kind of got together and said, well, what is this thing really? This is truly about recognizing the volunteers and the people of our community. So let's just call it that. Let's move it out of the holiday season so people don't have so much trouble getting there. And let's just call it, a volunteer appreciation event. So that's what this event is, and probably will be moving forward. The other question I got is, why isn't it being held in Little Canada? Okay. The reason it's not in Little Canada is I believe there were probably about 125, 150 invitations sent. And from a practical perspective, we really don't have a site to host that. I mean, we could ask Porterhouse to shut down for a day. And the event center's probably too big. So we've been having it here. And, one of the things that Chris pointed out was that we've purchased some properties lately, and we've talked for years about a potential community gathering space. And there's always been key challenges. Where do you put it? Where can we put it? We got to have the right location. Well, we believe we've probably identified the right location, and with some luck, we'll probably clear the final hurdles and some procurement and getting the everything kind of laid out. And once that's done, it'll take a little time to develop, but this event will probably be held in a building, maybe like this, in our very own city. I can't tell you where, but there's probably a pretty good idea where it might go. So When's a different thing. It's going to take some time to develop and get through all the legal mumbo jumbo and all that. But we'll get there, and this event will be held in the home base pretty soon. So I want to thank you all for being here. As we as a council appreciate everything you do, everything you have done, everything you will do in the future for us. This is Little Canada. This Roseville's a great community too, but Little Canada is a tremendously great community, and you guys are leaders and champions in this community. And I ask that you continue to be that. It's a pretty special place. And, as Chris outlined, there's some really exciting things coming up in the future. And we need your leadership to help us navigate all the challenges that'll pop up. And, and we're going to continue to be a great community. So feel free to continue to mingle and chat and have a drink. And we will see you next year. Have a great 2024.